Welcome back, my dark minions, to the Dark Void, ruled by me, now 51. And today we're back to WTF news slash reaction thing. Don't know the title still. By the way, we're back, and if you haven't heard the news, Netflix has just bought Warner Brothers. A few days back, it was announced. Heck, my younger sibling told me that about it when he told me about it. I thought it was just a part of the company, but no, it was a full-blown buyout. And I had to think of a lot, and I had to think of it a lot, and I realized, and then I looked at some people's thumbnails, some people's shorts, and I just realized that this could basically, in their perspective, say that this could be the end of movie industries, considering how Netflix is not really known for making good shows. Known for like doing right decisions. Not only that, they basically almost have a monopoly. Since Netflix, thanks to buying out Warner Brothers, basically bought out, basically who has basically I think HBO Max and Cartoon Network and so on and so forth, other networks under the command. That means that Netflix can decide whether or not they can do whatever the freak they want. Which people are afraid that this could harm the movie industry, which is already thanks to basically people not leaving their houses anymore and digital streaming, it could potentially cause the death of it because nobody's going to be going out to watch anymore. I mean, which would be bad. I mean, movie theaters may have to start pricing it even more just to keep it up. What's worse, since Netflix can decide whether or not, since there's the movies go out in the movie theaters and they have a limited amount of time, for example, like, let's just make an example of a month. Basically, you Netflix could just say, oh no, it's going to be out for a week and then we'll move it over to the Netflix stream. Basically, cutting up, basically potentially losing, making people have, the movie theaters have to basically lose money on the fact that it will only last for a week, which is bad, really bad. Which is why people are basically worried that this could all change, and especially since Netflix is going to have a monopoly here, and it's basically insane. And I guess right now it's just going to be Netflix and Paramount to go to war over Warner Brothers, which I guess Paramount is not part of the Warner Brothers thing, but if they're about to go to add it, then this is going to be interesting who's going to win here. But right now it's all up in the air. What's more is that since Netflix bought out Warner Bros., they also bought out WB Games, which I don't even know what's going to happen to that, because to me, I hope they dissolve WB Games because they haven't done anything with it, and Warner Bros. Hasn't done anything, and they've only given us slop over slop over slop. But who knows? Maybe Netflix can actually whip him into shape and actually make him do something. But if not, then I'd rather them dissolve it because I don't want Netflix to basically just use them as the money farm for that. Especially since Netflix does have games on their platform, which is barely anything. And plus, some games you have to basically, for example, there's a Ninja Turtle thing, which you have to sign up to their program, to their subscription just to play that, which there's no way to get it anywhere else as far as I know. And it's going to be, and if that happens, then that means any games they make is going to go directly to Netflix unless you go for the subscription, which is pretty bad. And then I also see people that, hey, maybe this could be pretty good. Maybe we can finally get the Nemesis system out running, finding out to the public. That would be great if it wasn't for the fact that I don't think Netflix would even care or even realize what they have. Even if they did, they more likely would just store it away and not bother using it. Just don't see the potential in it. What's worse is that like I said, it just basically put it away. What's worse is that they do realize that they'll just put it in any other game just to freaking. For no reason, for any reason, for no reason. And it just make the game wrong or something. Either way, it would be a miracle if the Nemesis system gets, like, thrown out into the wild. Like, they decide to, like, dissolve the patent or sell it off to someone else. Or, better yet, just put up on the bay and just auction it off somewhere. Either way, I highly doubt any of that will happen. So, who knows? We're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to be watching Yongyea talking about this and situation. But that's me talking about it. It's just... It is insane what's going to happen now. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. The plot, everything's changing, and I have no idea what's going to be happening from now on. This is like get out of control. Like, we're seeing a lot of monopolies happen right now. There's some monopolies starting to happen. And no, seriously, look closely. You're going to see a lot of companies actually getting a lot of companies under their banner. Ugh. All right, let's move on.
One of the biggest headlines this week is Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers, which is still in process. And this will have a tremendous impact on not just the entertainment industry as a whole, but also, of course, gaming. Given that Warner Brothers is a major player when it comes to publishing video games. So I'm here to kind of break down this whole situation, what's been going on, both in public and behind the scenes, and what this all means for the future. So let's start with the actual acquisition itself. Netflix, as announced here by Netflix itself, is to acquire Warner Brothers following the separation of Discovery Global for a total enterprise value of $82.7 billion. They further detail here that this is
that's a lot of money,
$27.75 per Warner Brothers Discovery share. Through this acquisition, if it were to go through, they would absorb much of Warner Brothers elements, including its film and television studios, HBO Max.
Well, my brain's just
and the timeline for all of this is
more than
$82 billion completed in Q3 of 2026, and they expressed their excitement at this deal because they say that it'll give more choice and greater value for consumers and a stronger entertainment industry. And those are 2 points that many overwhelmingly disagree on. Consolidation just means less competition, which means corporations of consolidated have more control and more power over how much they can charge consumers and how they can essentially take advantage of them to make more money. And then as for a stronger entertainment industry, I mean, consolidation means less competition, which is actually worse for an industry. And
they can make us pay like over
shutting down productions, not being a supporter of the movie theater going experience, given their myriad mishandlings of projects and some of their shadier business practices, and given their monetization tactics and business models, given their history of how they treat entertainment and projects and IPs,
I don't care what gets posted up on customers' platform.
This is not something that people are particularly enthused about. In fact, if you go to Netflix's official Twitter page right here, where they announced the acquisition of Warner Brothers, I mean, the viewership here is absolutely insane. Almost 100 million views and almost 300,000 likes. News of this is obviously spread far and wide. But the top comments here are not particularly enthusiastic. This one right here with over 40,000 likes and almost 600,000 views is just this meme of Martin Scorsese saying, well, this industry is over. And as we scroll down, it's just people expressing their disillusionment of this latest development. Another Martin Scorsese meme, this one saying absolute cinema is dead. This meme right here of Ben Affleck just being done with everything, so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, with this acquisition, what this would mean is that Netflix would acquire all of these franchises as listed here.
This is what it has.
Discussing film. Evil Dead being the one bit of misinformation.
Sorry about
community notes that's
that.
a franchise.
That happened, but yeah,
from
that's
the
all
film
the
Army of Darkness that is owned by Studio Canal, with Warner Brothers only having distribution rights to Evil Dead Rise and the upcoming Evil Dead Burn. So they don't fully own Evil Dead. But as for the rest of these franchises, this is all stuff that Netflix would absorb, which means that so many like iconic major IPs and franchises would all be sitting under one corporate umbrella. That's not a good thing, especially when the corporation who's consolidating
monopoly
all these franchises and IPs and companies and studios and whatnot.
Just to let you know, if they have a monopoly, that you would think that would be illegal, but you have to remember, money talks. And if they have enough money, they can basically change the rules. I'm just saying, this is going to be very bad. Very bad indeed.
Is Netflix with its rather infamous reputation. And to really highlight how massive this deal is, even surpasses Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, which was estimated to be roughly $75.4 billion. Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery is a notch above that, sitting at $82.7 billion. All
I have to say is Netflix, I don't know what people are thinking, but my God, Netflix must be planning something, because they would not spend this much money to not use to milk Warner Brothers dry. They're going to try to milk Warner Brothers as much as possible. There's something. Netflix must be having something in the plan. Something. I don't know what's happening, but you cannot think this is a good thing. Something bad is going to be happening here. I don't know what, but something. I just feel that. A gut feeling in my head, in my stomach, is just something. You do not spend this much money and to not expect a high amount of money coming back. Either there's going to be liquidations happening with this company, or they're going to start spitting out so much slop just to recoup the losses. Not only that, they're going to be raising the prices. There is something going to happen. I don't know what, but I do know something will happen.
a little over $7 billion more than the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard King. People are especially disillusioned by some of the statements that Netflix's co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, has recently put out there. It's all bullshit corporate speak that tries to convince people that the way Netflix is doing things is the way of the future. So here's what he has to say. What is the consumer trying to tell us? That they'd like to watch movies at home. Thank you. The studios and the theaters
all of us do that
out over trying to preserve this 45-day window that is completely out of step with the consumer experience of just loving a movie. This gives off the same energy as when AAA companies are trying to convince everyone that nobody likes single-player games anymore, campaign-driven experiences. They all want just live services. A lot of people still value the theater-going experience. A lot of people still value movie theaters.
It may be expensive,
and it
but
being
we go there just for one.
The process of a movie's release, which is why scrolling down you find plenty of people just completely dunking on this dude and also highlighting all the ways
boo this man
of proof that he is utterly and completely wrong. Just recently, in fact, we saw movies like Zootopia 2 do incredibly well at the box office during its theatrical run. It is currently eyeing a 1.5 to 1.7 billion.
So this is just slapping him in the face.
At the worldwide box
Netflix
office,
president,
making it one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And even right now, I think it's like fourth best performing movie at the box office like ever. And so people are pointing this out and mocking Netflix's statements that imply that the movie theater going experience is dead. So Matt Braley here, for example, said, wow, almost as if the head of Netflix saying theaters are dead was more about what he wants rather than what we want and rather than what is actually the reality. If the movie is desirable enough, if it's marketed
read through the lines,
something people want to watch, they will go to the movie theaters to watch it, even if it's exclusive to the movie theaters for a bit. And yeah, I mean, posts like these are garnering hundreds of thousands of views and tens of thousands of likes and plenty of people agreeing with this sentiment. The same co-CEO went as far as to say that Barbie and Oppenheimer would have been just as big on Netflix. The direct quote being, there's no reason to believe that the movie itself is better in any size of screen for all people. I'm not saying strip away people's choice. Like if they want to wait to watch it on their TV or on their tablet or on their phone or on their Nintendo DS or whatever smart device you can stream or watch movies and views on.
Anything,
like, let them. But this narrative of trying to dominate the entertainment business by putting out false narratives about what consumers want when it comes to watching movies.
It's a monopoly. They're trying to be monopolistic.
Don't go to movie theaters anymore just to further their own corporate agendas. That's what people are taking umbrage with. Because that's plain and simply just not true. There's something quite special for a lot of people about the movie theater going.
People can leave their houses.
I mean, you look at clips of people who got together to watch, Avengers Endgame and all of the reactions that you saw as, people came together to witness these moments.
You see people doing cosplay
occasions like
too.
Barbie and Oppenheimer kickstarting this movement called Barbenheimer that involved people watching a double feature and dressing up for the theater. The reason Barbenheimer went viral was specifically because people had to show up to the movie theater and engage in almost this like event that the community came up with, which would never have happened if those movies had just come directly to Netflix. There'd be no event to dress up for. There'd be no Barbenheimer.
No reason.
And yeah, I mean, people highlighting this, how the whole point of Barbenheimer was going to see a double feature and dressing up for the theater, garnered 3.8 million views and over 200.
Movie theaters made a lot of money that day.
Netflix has already come out and said that Warner Brothers movies, which once upon a time were very much about ensuring that those movies come out in movie theaters first, how that model will slowly be faded away. They hinted at this with the following quote: Warner Brothers movies
here you
will remain in theaters, but eventually Windows will evolve to be much more consumer friendly.
And there it is.
Present their corporate agendas as something that is intended to make consumers' lives easier.
Over
and really, it's just about
50% here,
Netflix
people.
trying to become the de facto way to watch movies. It's about them trying to take over an industry.
Do we need independent movie goers?
Want. And on top of all that, it's worth highlighting some potential.
I have to say that. Wait, hit it up here. Come on, AI, more AI. Come on. Okay, back on topic. I have to say is we need more, dude. If these movie theaters are smart right now they need to start but actually right now we need people that are making their own movies to start talking to these movie theaters. Hey, look, we're seeing what's Netflix happening. This could potentially be bad. Hey, if you basically pay us to basically make movies for you guys, we can make movies for you guys. Like we'll make movies and you guys can feature them on your freaking movie theaters. Because right now, Netflix is doing all this stuff. I mean, right now, we need independent movie makers right now to do this kind of thing. Because at this rate, if this keeps happening, we won't be seeing a movie theater anywhere at all, because we're gonna be seeing them start. We're gonna be at least only seeing them like small movie theaters in small towns, and that's basically where we're all gonna see that. Sorry, I know I'm confusing people. No, I'm saying something out of pocket here, but you gotta realize if Netflix starts moving away from movie theaters, it will slowly start killing the movie theater industry. It will only be a matter of time before they can no longer keep supporting themselves, and they have no choice but to stop. I mean, they make their monies not just from movies, but also the cash, but also the food stuff over there. Their stuff is expensive beyond belief. Trust me, I've been to there several times. It's just too expensive. But that's how they make the money, and people go over there to watch movies, to eat those snacks. Think about that. If there's no movies, there's no one going out to watch them. No one goes out to watch them. Nobody buys snacks. Nobody buys snacks. No money for the movie theater. At this rate, it's going to they're going to start starving the movie theater industry. Which is why I say these movie theaters. In fact, these independent movie makers need to start going to these theaters and say, "Hey, we see Netflix. We want to make movies. Would you feature our movies on your videos? Like, we'll freaking do the ads and everything. Just put our channels up there, and you just need to worry about basically, making the snacks and everything." I mean, that's maybe the only way. But will the movie theaters do that? I have no idea. All I know is, this is going to be very bad. And now, Netflix AI.
Potential hidden agendas that is being reported on, like this, the Hollywood Reporter article titled Warner Brothers Hidden Appeal to Netflix AI Supercharger. Training data and meme materials are elements the Warner Brothers library offers that Netflix badly needs as it prepares to buy the studio. So a big part of the Warner Brothers acquisition is essentially feeding AI. The kind of usage of AI that is not beneficial to anyone, to artists, to the industry, to the projects and the artworks themselves.
It's for them to save money.
Not to mention bad for the environment, and also the recent DRAM price hikes, all result of the AI industry.
Prices are going up, environment's dying.
And then there's the gaming side of things. It's been confirmed that Netflix will also be acquiring Warner Brothers games, which should come as no surprise. What this means is that if this acquisition goes through, again, it's not finalized, it's still in process, there's still regulatory stuff that they have to go through, which we'll get to in a bit. But if it were to go through, that means that Netflix would own studios like NetherRealm, TT Games, Rocksteady, the Batman Arkham series, so on and so forth, as well as, DC and, Harry Potter and whatever. All of the big franchises under Warner Brothers umbrella would fall under Netflix. Many are not particularly enthused by that prospect. That also means that Netflix would own the Nemesis system that was established by the Middle Earth series.
I'm still pissed about Monolith.
Is under Warner Brothers' umbrella, and with this acquisition, it would also be under Netflix's umbrella.
If they even realize what it is.
Netflix will make the Nemesis system something that is accessible by all developers, given that it is currently
if they want to make money.
But this is Netflix we're talking about. They are a corporation first and foremost. They want to have as much ownership and control.
Then basically sell it off.
I don't see them foregoing the Nemesis system. And then there's the history of Netflix's handling of game studios. Plenty of instances highlighting how all Netflix has done.
I never even heard of this Netflix games.
Is woefully mismanaged.
I heard that they have games. I never heard of this one.
October of 2024, Netflix closed their only AAA game studio before they even had a chance to ship the game. And I mean, we're talking about a development studio that had a juggernaut team, developers from companies like Blizzard, Bungie, and Santa Monica, the developers of the new God of War series. And this is a development studio that was only around for less than 2 years, and they were
2 years
behind
only
the scenes, but they were not allowed to finish their product. And that was in large part because not only was there a round of layoffs that happened at Netflix at around that time, but also because it was stated that Netflix wants to take a mobile-first approach. And even that strategy shift has not been going well, with them recently having shut down the studio behind the Squid Game mobile title.
I didn't even realize this existed.
In October of 2025, the studio's name was Boss Fight Entertainment. And clearly that game didn't do well enough for Netflix to feel like this studio was worth retaining. And even more recently, on December 3rd of 2025, it was reported that Netflix has sold game studio Spry Fox back to its founder. It was acquired in 2022. But the kinds of games that this studio makes weren't in line with the new strategy that Netflix wanted to pursue with gaming. Again, more mobile-focused efforts. At least they didn't shut this one down, but the fact that they gave up on the studio easily goes to highlight where their priorities are. And they
want mobile.
How they may potentially butcher or hold back the potential of a lot of the IPs and franchises, and
we're going to see a lot more mobile stuff, aren't we?
The kinds of projects they could
mobile
from Warner Brothers games. It feels like all Netflix is good at is wasting potential when it comes to video games, and I fear the same will happen
and causing problems and controversies
properties as well. Now, it's not just the general masses who are receiving this news poorly, but we're also seeing numerous groups and organizations protest against this and urging regulators that they do not let this deal, this acquisition process.
Because monopoly people
that it will have
Netflix
on multiple
monopoly
industries, and due to the fact that many feel this is basically what antitrust laws were made for. So Variety reports here that a group of major industry players has sent an urgent open letter to Congress warning of an economic and institutional meltdown.
Exactly. Also, if they can somehow get some Congress or whatever to stop to basically go after Netflix, basically they need to force it to start splitting up their assets. Like, for example, they need to get rid of some assets, liquidate some assets, or start chopping the studio up to pieces to lease, which that would be bad to say, but also to remove studios from their banner, because if they have like I say, they have over 50% of the movie industry right now. If basically nobody stops them by basically, hey, you can't have this many stuff, you need to start selling off some of your assets here, some of these companies here, just to basically make sure you're not monopoly. You need to get rid of some of these stuff, liquidate it somehow, so that way they don't have, like I said, full monopoly. They need to start releasing some of these studios somehow, or because if nobody stops them, we're gonna have like Netflix being taken over everything, and we're not gonna be able to watch movies how we want anymore. Not only we're gonna be paying more money for subscriptions, we're gonna have mobile games coming out the wazoo, and movie theaters are gonna start dying off because, like I said, Netflix just say, hey, only a week, and then it goes to Netflix.
In Hollywood if Netflix succeeds in acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. The letter was sent via email to members of Congress from both parties on Thursday from an anonymous collective identifying themselves only as concerned feature film producers. And beyond that, you've got the Writers Guild of America also being fully against this deal, insisting that this merger must be blocked.
Yes.
And, quote, the world's largest streaming company swallowing
something
one of its
must happen.
Competitors is what antitrust laws were designed to prevent, unquote. And this right here has garnered a lot of support with, millions of views and, over 114,000 likes. But yeah, this kind of consolidation, this merger would make it very difficult for other entities to compete against Netflix. The argument being that Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers would give Netflix so much power, so much control over so much of the industry's content.
Monopoly.
It would make it incredibly difficult for anyone else to really compete against it. We have an expanded quote here from Variety's tweet, which reads, the outcome would eliminate jobs, push down wages, worsen conditions for all entertainment workers, raise prices for consumers, and reduce the volume and diversity of content for all viewers. Industry workers, along with the public, are already impacted by only a few powerful companies.
Oh, yeah, there's like a lot of
control over what
stuff happening right now.
Watch on television, on streaming, and in theaters. This merger must be blocked.
Something must happen.
A high level of consolidation. This is so much control and power that is being given to one company, and so much content being owned exclusively by one company.
A megacorp.
Yeah, it would make all the issues that already exist as a result of the current structure and system of things that much worse. The elimination of jobs, the pushing down of wages, the worsening of conditions for entertainment workers, the raising of prices for consumers, the reduction of volume and diversity of content for all viewers, all that would be further amplified if such a large entity as Netflix were to merge with such a historic, long-standing, and influential company as Warner Brothers. And all the
hilarious how Warner Brothers are all about copyright.
And then next up, we got the Directors Guild of America also getting involved.
Now they're going to be bought out
with Netflix to discuss their significant concerns about the streamer's acquisition.
There needs to be something happening here.
Warner Brothers. There's also something that has gone viral with many people supporting discussions.
What's funny, Markiplier talked about this,
very
but he didn't realize
across multiple
that the next day
sectors
this
of
would
the
happen.
entertainment industry. Now, fun fact about the Directors Guild of America is that its president is none other than Christopher Nolan, one of the most renowned filmmakers of our generation and in filmmaking history, really. Christopher Nolan is someone who's been a champion of everything from physical media being more commonplace to the movie theater going experience being something that is preserved. And so, of course, it makes sense that Chris and everyone involved in this guild want to have talks about the implications of this kind of deal. And then you've got the Actors Guild SAG-AFTRA also coming out and expressing their dissent against this and expressing their concerns in this statement where they talk about how all of this raises many serious questions about its impact on the future of the entertainment industry and especially the human creative talent whose livelihoods and careers depend on it. Now, as I've mentioned before, this acquisition is still in process and it is not a fully done deal, which is why you've got companies like Paramount who are able to come in and attempt to intercept this deal. This happened just today, literally hours before I started recording this. Paramount, who was among the companies who were engaging in a bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery, after learning of the agreement to have Netflix acquire Warner Brothers for, $82.7 billion,
trying to stop them,
has come in to launch a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, whereas Netflix is offering $82.7 billion. Paramount is hoping that Warner Brothers Discovery will be enticed by this new deal valued at $108
I would take it.
That's
like $20
billion. Paramount
above.
doesn't just have that kind of money on hand, which is why they're getting help from other entities and organizations like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Abu Dhabi wealth funds, as well as Jared Kushner's affinity partners.
Because they all know that they don't want to lose movie theaters.
Brothers will be acquired by someone. It's just a matter of who. And in terms of the preferences surrounding who should acquire Warner Brothers, it's a matter of who's the lesser of two evils. Warner Brothers being purchased at all instead of it being its own separate studio with its own separate streaming service and serving as competition for companies like Netflix and Paramount. That's bad enough on its own. But if Warner Brothers getting acquired is inevitable, people are hoping that at least it's acquired by the company who will do the least amount of damage by acquiring Warner Brothers. And with Paramount saying things like how, they vow to release 30 plus movies in theaters annually if it beats Netflix and acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, saying we're going to satisfy the needs of the movie going public, being much more.
They know the money is in the movie theaters.
The movie theater going experience.
They don't want to lose that.
From an optics perspective, the public seems to prefer Paramount acquiring Warner Brothers over Netflix. Not to mention you've got folks breaking all this down and speculating what's going on and how Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers would be significantly worse than Paramount because Netflix, in buying Warner Brothers, would eliminate competition at a much more severe level, whereas Paramount buying Warner Brothers might potentially even the playing field a little bit between Paramount and Netflix and other entities like Disney and whatnot. The way this individual puts it, Akash Gupta, is that Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery removes the last piece that could be assembled into a Netflix killer. It just makes Netflix significantly more immune to competition. It's less about acquiring specific major IPs like Harry Potter and
it's about total control
and more about starving competition, eliminating
total control.
That's what this move, many are speculating and many are kind of analyzing it to be more about. But again, ultimately, we're looking at a lesser of two evils situation. The real way to go would be if consolidation didn't happen to the degree that it's happening now, if Warner Brothers remained as an additional competitive element to the industry as a whole. But yeah, beyond that, we've got reports of the government getting involved, which makes sense for any major acquisitions of this scale. You've got regulators looking at potential antitrust issues that might allow them to prevent the acquisition from going through. And so right here we have a report from the
Something needs to happen. Something needs to happen.
Of Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max would face stiff DOJ antitrust opposition. And then right here we got a report from Charles Gasparino, who is a journalist, who posted how Trump's DOJ antitrust chief Gail Slater and her senior staff are working on plans to launch a sweeping multi-year investigation into Netflix's allegedly monopolistic control of the streaming market, according to people with direct knowledge of the matter. And yeah, the current sitting president, Donald Trump, has come out and said that he does plan to get involved in all of this, saying Netflix have a very big market share, and when they have Warner Brothers, that share goes up a lot. I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. I'll be involved in that decision too. But things get a little murky when you realize the potential conflict of interest that occurs with Trump's own son-in-law, Jared Kushner, being involved in helping Paramount acquire Warner Brothers. Given that familial relationship, the assumption is that the president is more inclined to lean towards having Paramount acquire Warner Brothers and helping that be pushed along.
Maybe that's good.
Stalling Netflix from being able to do something.
Maybe that's
similar.
good.
But either way, no matter how this plays out, if the end result is Warner Brothers being absorbed by a larger fish, then that's ultimately just consolidation. Too much is being controlled by too few entities who continue to grow and grow and eat.
We're getting to the point of a monopolistic society right now.
Too big to stop. Laws do exist to help prevent that kind of stuff from happening, but ultimately it's a matter of, what a specific administration or a specific head of the antitrust organizations have to say, or, what they think about a certain kind of acquisition and what their specific agendas are as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. But while we wait to see how all of this further develops, I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on the potential.
Okay, so we're gonna end it there. But yeah, that's basically about it. This is gonna be a potential nightmare for everybody if Netflix gets basically Warner Brothers. I hope Warner Brothers does see the $108 billion offer and basically side with Paramount, because, like I said, if Netflix gets it, it will be basically monopolistic, and and the movie theater industry may start starving and dying because Netflix just doesn't care. They only care about making as much money as possible and making sure that they are the ones to basically do everything. Like I said, if this happens, we're going to be seeing $100, $200, $250, which I saw a comment in there in the video. $250 subscriptions just to watch a dang movie that's just possibly going to be costing $10 unless they make that to $100 too. It's going to be a bleak future if Netflix wins. And we don't even know what's going to happen with gaming, which actually they may dissolve everything Warner Brothers Game, make sure to make it Warner Brothers Mobile just to send out slop. I don't know what will happen, but I do hope Paramount and the partners do win this, because the last thing I want to see is like the movie theater down the street get taken away and be closed down. It is, dude, come on. This has to be, something needs to happen. Alright, that's about it. I have nothing else left to say. Let me know what you think about this situation. Hey, this situation. Do you think Paramount has a chance to buy out Warner Bros? Do you think Warner Bros would choose to go with Paramount? Or do you think Netflix's journey is already right and done and they're not going to bother, and Warner Bros is just going to go with Netflix and be done with it? And what do you think will happen if Netflix does happen? Do you think it will be bad, really bad, or do you think it was just, oh no, this is everyone's wishful thinking or something? No, that's not gonna be bad as much as what people are thinking. I need to know the comments. Well, please let me know in the comments, because right now, this is really bad, at least to me. You guys, you tell me in the comments what you think about this. Anyway, comment, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video. Like, share the video to help spread the word of what's happening. Don't forget to press the black bell to be notified when my videos pop up. And also, YouTube channel doesn't bother. I still just forget. And Yongyea takes over. You know the whole shebang at this point. And don't forget to press your profiles to make sure restriction mode is on, because if it is, it removes my videos from your feed. Alright, that's about it. And for right now, my dark moviegoer minions, dismissed.